This is a Google Sheet that is currently synced to this WordPress site. So this line of text was added in WordPress and it came through to here, and this line of text was added in Google Sheets and it came through to here, even though this is a draft post. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can set up a sync between the two and manage your content that is stored in WordPress and published in WordPress directly from Google Sheets. Let's get started. So I've created a very simple WordPress installation for this demonstration. Nothing fancy going on here, just using pretty much default settings everywhere. If we come back here to the dashboard, you can see I've got one post currently. Let's really quickly add a post just so we have a second one. And you can see that this is kind of a standard setup. Here is a paragraph of text. All right, cool. And we can save that one as a draft. So now if we look here, we've got one that's draft and one that's live. So I think we're good to go on that side. Now, like I mentioned, we're going to use a tool called Whalesync for this. You can create a free account for a trial at whalesync.com. I've logged in already here. And once you log in, you can click New Sync up in the top right corner. Now, the first app that we're going to connect here is Google Sheets, and it's going to ask us for a Google Sheets URL. We can just go to sheets.new to get a new one because we don't really have an existing one to use. Since we are going to be copying everything over from WordPress, we don't actually need to make any columns or anything like that. Then we can authorize this in here to give Whalesync permission to be working with that sheet. When that is done, it should say untitled sheet there. We can come over here and actually give this a name, WordPress sync, and sheet 1 is fine. We're going to overwrite that anyway. And then let's just click hold on, there we go. Whenever you do that, it just updates the name for you. Now we've got that, save that, and we're going to come over here to WordPress. Here you're going to enter your user email for the account, the application password, which I'll show you how to get in a second, and then the WordPress URL. Now the WordPress URL is the actual URL of your WordPress site. So that would be this right here. We can put that in. And then for the application password, you want to go to users and select the user that you're working with. And when you come down here to the bottom, it will say new application password. You can just type Whalesync or whatever it is that you want it to be in there. Now, when you create this, it's going to show you your password there, and then it's going to go away. So make sure you actually get this done before you click the X out of there. Put that in here, and then you're going to put your email that you used for that up here in the top. And we can click authorize. Now that's going to go through, and you can see it authorized with directory site. So this is called directory site. We know that it connected to the right one. We can click save on that. Now the next step that we're going to have here is selecting which tables from WordPress we want to sync. If you have a completely basic setup in WordPress, you're just going to see kind of your standard 4 tables, which are categories, pages, posts, and tags. In this case, I did install the ACF extension and created a books category using ACF, just so you could see that those ACF fields are also going to be available in here as a table type. For this one, we're going to stick with the traditional blogging sort of use case, and we're going to pick those 4. And on this side, we'll just say new table for each of these because we can have Whalesync just create those for us. So it's going to now go in here to our Google Sheets document that we've already shared with it, and it's going to create each of those fields, or sorry, each of those tables. Okay, so one of those is in there, 2 of those are in there. And now once those are started, we can just delete this one here. We don't need that anymore. All right, so here we've got our 4 sheets, and you can see right now they just have a couple of fields in each of them, just the minimum that are needed to get these started. That's just to not assume what all you want copied over. Maybe you don't want to edit content, maybe you just want to edit a few of the fields. As soon as this is done verifying that those tables were created correctly, then it will finish and we can continue. There we go. All right, now we're going to choose which columns we actually want to go from WordPress to Google Sheets. And so the easiest way to do it is just click Create Fields, copy fields from WordPress. And I like to select everything and then deselect anything that I don't want. I just find that that's faster. Let's see, count, description, link, text summary, WordPress, record ID. I don't really use this. I don't really know what I'm going to need to use this for, so I'll just do all of them. Now, when I click copy fields, Whalesync is actually going through here and creating these fields that it finds in WordPress in Google Sheets. And right now we're working in the categories table. So if we come over here, we should see here's those category columns showing up here in Google Sheets. Looks like we're almost done there. There we go. So we can do the same thing for pages. Again, create fields, copy fields from WordPress, select everything, and then remove what we don't want. Now, we're not actually linking the author table here, so we're going to undo that one. And then we're not going to do media in this example. Google Sheets isn't the best place to manage media from. Let's see, is there anything else that we don't want? I don't think we need ping status, password, menu order is good, link is good. All right, let's go with that. So we're going to copy those fields. And again, we're working in the pages table right now. So if we come over here to the pages table, we should see these starting to show up in here as Whalesync is creating those for us. And what's great about this is when Whalesync is creating these fields for you, it's also making sure that the data types of those columns are set correctly so you don't run into any formatting issues. And once this is done, you can rearrange the columns to put them wherever you prefer. So for me, for example, I like to have, title and content over here towards the left. So once those are done, we'll go ahead and move those over there. You can always check the status down here, how many fields it's created, how many fields it's creating. And then these little green check marks tell you which ones are finished. And if there were any issues, they would show up as red there. So those are done. Let's get the posts creating. So we're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to select everything, then unselect the ones that we don't want. Categories we actually already have, so we can leave that linked. And what's really great is when you see this icon, that means that Whalesync is going to actually maintain that relationship for you. So our categories will be linked to our posts here, which is excellent. Same thing with tags. And then sticky status. I don't know that we need sticky or ping status or password on these ones. So let's go ahead and remove those. And everything else looks good. While those are copying, I'm going to come back in here. Like I said, we'll move the title over next to the content. And we've got that ID there, status. Let's move maybe this over here. And excerpt probably up at the front. Let's put this over to the right. There we go. I think that looks good. We can check on the posts. So we've got categories. You can see it's categories.related categories. That's the relationship field that Whalesync created automatically for us. So this is going to contain the ID that goes to categories. And it looks like we're about done. Let's check the status of that. Okay, I forgot to undo the featured media table, which we don't have linked here. So that one had an error. We can just ignore that. When this is done, we'll just close out the window. But that's what it looks like if there's an issue with the field. And if it's an issue that you're needing to do, you can just go make whatever changes you think are going to fix it and then click copy, select that one and click copy fields again. So you can correct it right here really easily. We can cancel out of that. That one's done. Let's get the tags creating over there. So again, copy fields from WordPress. Looks like we want everything on this one. Copy those ones. While that's happening, going to come back over here to the posts and do the same thing that we did with the other. So I think we want title up here towards the front, probably about there. Content up here, excerpt between those. Format, link, modified, everything else probably looks pretty good. I don't think we need the categories over here. Probably want those by the tags. And let's get the dates next to each other. There we go. All right, that looks pretty good to me. Let's see how the tags are looking. Slug, name, count, description, link, taxonomy. Yep, that looks pretty good to me. And that one's done. All right, so now the last thing we want to do before we activate the sync is just double check that the sync direction for each of these columns is what we want. Whalesync is a very powerful tool. It lets you set the sync direction not only at the table level, but also at the individual column level. Some of these like this, you can see it's a read-only field on the WordPress side. And so it's actually grayed out. You can't sync it in that direction. And that's why these are set as one way only. Now what this means is if you change these in Google Sheets, it's not actually going to change on the other side, and I'll just get overwritten the next time that there's a sync there. These ones with arrows in both directions means you can edit this in WordPress, and that will show up in Sheets. You can edit in Sheets, and that will show up back in WordPress. You just want to go through these, You're going to obviously know your information and what you're needing better than I would, but you can delete any of these that you don't want to be syncing, and you can obviously add more if there are other fields that you would like to be syncing right here. Now, once you've gone through these, you're happy with these, everything looks good, we can click Save and Continue. In this case, the tables were created automatically, so we know there aren't going to be any conflicts with data. So we can skip any sort of merge or conflict resolution logic here and just activate sync. We'll get a little warning just letting us know about API issues or what to do with syncs and sorting. Now, in that case, what it's telling us is once the data is in here, be careful when you're sorting this, because if you lose the Whalesync ID column when you sort your data, then everything's going to get out of sync, right? Because the ID column will be associated with the wrong rows. So the easiest way to get around that is to only ever use the sort sheet option. So that's what you can do there. Let's check over on this. All right, so we've activated the sync. It has already scanned WordPress, and it looks like it's making 7 changes now in Google Sheets. It appears as though it's already created a blog, so we can look and see if that blog post is in there. Let's see, is that pages, posts? Let's check on that. Record / blog. Oh, it was a category. Sorry, the blog category was created, so that would be right here. Yep, so there are our categories. We can see we've got the slugs, the names, and then how many things are linked to each of those. And if we come into pages, looks like we're getting some content in here. Obviously, you can put wrap on or hide, whatever you prefer. That's the great thing about working with a spreadsheet. So you've got full control. Actually, you know what? I want that to be at the bottom. All right, so Whalesync ID, slug, title, excerpt, and content. So these are the pages. Again, so WordPress, if you are not familiar, pages are different from posts. Pages usually are going to be like your about page or your home page, etc. So it's where there's sort of one template and one piece of content. And then posts, this is where you're going to have your blog posts. And if you are using ACF, then to create other categories, like in this case, I've created a books category, then those will also be considered posts in WordPress world. But Whalesync makes it really easy and actually breaks those out in the same way that ACF breaks them out into your sidebar so that you can do those in other tables. Now, let's do something fun with this just so that we can see what we've got. So here we've got our pages. Let's go over here to our posts. All right, so second post, hello world, first post, here's a paragraph of text. Let's just come in here and say, here is another paragraph of text. So we've typed this in Google Sheets, and then let's see on this one, editor writing. Let's edit that one actually from this side. So we'll come in here and we will say, this line of text was added in WordPress. All right, so we will save that. And then let's see if anything is happening. Now, you can always check on the status of your sync in the Whalesync dashboard here, and it will tell you when it's going to scan that app next. So right now it's running a full scan of WordPress, and it's going to run a scan in 2 minutes on Google Sheets. If you're just testing and you need it to be a little bit quicker, you can click Scan Now. That will speed it up. Now we can see that something has been found in WordPress and is headed towards Google Sheets. That's probably the edit that we made to that first post. And let's see if it picks up now the edit that we made in Google Sheets. As it scans that, there it is. So now this edit is headed to WordPress. So if we come in here, we can see this line of text was added in WordPress. And then if we come over here to second post, we can see that this should be updating any second. I believe that was where we put it. Here's, oh, sorry. We didn't actually say that that paragraph of text was made in Google Sheets, but it was. That's the one that we did there. So there you go. That's how to set up the most basic of syncs between WordPress and Google Sheets using Whalesync. Again, this does work with ACF columns. And if you have any questions or there's a specific sync or syncing feature that you're trying to set up, please feel free to drop a line in the comment. I will try to get back to you as quickly as possible. I hope that this is helpful and that you have a very successful syncing.